sabes que no, cuando tú quieres hacer está bien.
Bam! My peoples. My peoples. Welcome to another episode of Boxing for Breakfast, where you get your healthy dosage of sweet science early in the morning, my peoples. Y'all know how we do. We're going to talk boxing. Very interesting topic of conversation for this beautiful morning. Um, Let me start off by saying happy Thursday, man. Thursday. Being that it's Thursday, you guys know about the traditions where Thirsty Thursday, TBT, and all this stuff. We're gonna do some throwback stuff over here. We're gonna talk about the greatest fighters of all time. It's an interesting topic of conversation because everyone is going to have their own list. Everyone is going to have their own opinion as far as who's the greatest of all time, right? But there's a few fighters, a very short list, that people will always agree, people will always put them on that list of greatest fighters of all time. So we know that Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather, they're a mainstay of that list, greatest of all time. If you're having a conversation about the GOATs, you can't have it without bringing up Floyd Mayweather. You can't have it without bringing up Muhammad Ali, right? So who else? Who else belongs on that list? Toy Mafia, salute my brother. Boxing Junkie in the building, salute my G. So there's a lot of great fighters throughout the history of boxing, but we know that Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali are two that are always going to be at the top. When you talk about the greatest, those two names or one of those two will come up first and then the other one will come up right after. You can't keep either one of those guys off the list. But who else? Who else is on it? Boxing Junkie, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Floyd Tent in the conversation. Every time we talk about the greatest fighters of all time, they're always part of it. So Ali, Floyd, and then Sugar Ray Robinson. And who else belongs in there? Well, I'm putting Terence Crawford on that Mount Rushmore. Right now. I'm telling you guys, when it's all said and done and Terence Crawford retires and we look back at all of his accomplishments, he's going to be up there. He's going to be up there. Boxing Junkie, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Floyd ain't in the conversation. I think that's what you meant to say. I don't know why you feel that way, Boxing Junkie. Every time we talk about the greatest fighters of all time, they come up. I think it's a little bit harder with Sugar Ray Robinson. I think it's a little bit harder with Sugar Ray Robinson simply because he fought in an era where fights wasn't televised like that. Video quality isn't as good, so we can't really appreciate his skills the way we appreciate now when we watch fights. HD. The imagery looks great, so it's a little bit different. Boxing Junkie. Boxing Junkie, Armstrong, Duran. Again, man, when it comes to the greatest of all time, there's so many fighters' names that you could throw in the hat. But, like, for example, Duran, he was a great fighter and one of the greatest of his era. Would I put him top three, top four? Hell no. That's the thing. We live in a society where if you don't put the guy at number one or number two, you're disrespecting him. That's a lot of great fighters. If we start naming all-time greats, people who accomplished, who did a lot in boxing, it's gonna be easy for us to surpass 100 fighters, 100 names, 100 great fighters. We could compile that list. But once you start saying who are the greatest fighters amongst all of these greats, you're gonna now have to start nitpicking at the names of the champions that they beat, nitpicking at the accomplishments of their opponents. You're gonna start doing all that to really determine who's the greatest of all time, or to really get to a reasonable conclusion, right? So why wouldn't I put Roberto Duran at that at that top four, top five? Because he beat Sugar Ray Leonard, but right after that, the infamous No Mas, right? He quit on their second fight. When he fought Tommy Hearns, he got absolutely blasted out of there. He took a nasty beating and a nasty knockout to Tommy Hearns. He also took a nasty beating to Hagler. So, listen, Roberto Duran is one of the greatest of all time. But there's a lot. That list is big. I don't see him nowhere near the top three, top four. Great fighter. I wouldn't put him that high on the list. Is Pacquiao in that list? Ooh, that's a great question. That's a great question. So, Pacquiao, at any given time, you can take someone out the list and put Manny Pacquiao. At any given time. In fact, Manny Pacquiao is one of those fighters that you can make the argument that he is the number one greatest fighter of all time. Boxing Junkie Duran, the greatest lightweight in the planet. You can make that argument, but I wouldn't put him above Sugar Ray Leonard. Um, Actually, no, because he moved up in weight to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. Look, you kind of shortening the bar because you say he's the greatest lightweight in the planet. That's like me saying, well, Tito Trinidad is the greatest welterweight of all time, right? Because he never lost in the welterweight division, had the second most title defenses in the welterweight division. So I could make that argument, but in reality, is it really, when we're talking about greatest of all time, is it really fair to cling on to one weight class and say, oh, but in this weight class, he's the greatest? Boxing Junkie, Sugar Ray isn't a lightweight. Yeah, that's what I say. Duran moved up a couple of divisions to fight him. But again, greatest in one weight class, it's hard to make that argument. Now, when we talk about greatest of all time, you're competing against everybody else who's in the running for that title. I gotta say, the most interesting person on my Mount Rushmore has to be Terence Crawford. Why? Because how does a guy go from being one of the most hated fighters, one of the most disrespected, one of the most discredited and diminished, like Terence Crawford, to fighting and becoming the face of boxing? That's what I've been telling people. They're going to make a movie about Terence Crawford. Remember that I told you. And I'm not talking about no little low-budget movie. They're going to make a big movie about Terence Crawford because his story is the story about the guy that wasn't supposed to make it. He's the guy who was not supposed to make it to the top. He's the guy who had entire fan bases rooting against him. Think about for the last 5 years, how many people have said Crawford don't fight nobody, he haven't accomplished anything, he haven't done anything in boxing. How many people have said that? Yet, here we are. The guy has become the face of boxing. Just like that. This dude went from being the most hated, the most diminished, the most disrespected, to being the guy. Let that sizzle in your spirit. How many people have begged for an opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez? Begged and never got it. And Crawford, the guy people said, why would Canelo give him an opportunity? He doesn't deserve it. He ain't fight nobody. He ain't beat nobody. He's there for a payday. He know Canelo's gonna knock him out. And then he does what he did. Then he does what he did. Which led to people hating him a lot more. You know, the people that disliked Crawford, they graduated into hating him. That's just the reality. That's what happens when you get to the top. People want to bring you back down. That hate. They hate the fact that Terence Crawford became the guy. Imagine if you spent 3, 4, 5 years telling everybody, oh, this guy's not that good. Oh, he's a hype job. Oh, and then he becomes the face of boxing. Of course you're going to be mad. You're going to be mad as hell because it didn't play out the way you thought. You was in the wrong side of history, my peoples. Boxing Junkie, the problem with Bud is that he hardly got big makes on his resume, and that's why he don't get the credit. Big makes, or I think you mean big names. No, he has big names in his resume. It's just that people don't accept it. Amir Khan, that's a big name. Sean Porter, that's a big name. Errol Spence, that's a big name. What are we talking about, bro? He got big names. People just find a way because they don't like him to discredit him. But he got world champions. He got people that accomplish in multiple divisions. What are we talking about? He don't got big names. He got big names. People just won't accept it because they need a reason to hate on Terence Crawford family. They need it. That's just the reality. We look at other fighters, and it's like, wait a minute. Let's compare the resume and see what they really got going on it. Like if we talking about big names, who are the big names that Tank Davis beat? Who are the big names? A lot of them people, Boxing Junkie, we didn't even know them before they fought Tank Davis. We didn't know People Cruz. We didn't know Frank the Ghost Martin. We didn't know a lot of these dudes. We didn't even know them. We met them when they got in the ring with Tank Davis. Even Lamar Roach, who was a champion at 130. Most of the people acting like they knew him. Cap. Lamar Roach didn't even have 200,000 followers on IG before fighting Tank Davis, bro. So when we say that Crawford doesn't have the names, I gotta say it, bro. That's cap. He has the name. You just find a way to discredit or diminish them. That's all it is. But look at this. Errol Spence, that's not a name. Sean Porter, that's not a name. Kell Brook, that's not a name. Amir Khan, that's not a name. Jeff Horn, the guy who beat Manny Pacquiao, that's not a name. That's 5. I don't understand that. That's 5 names that everybody who follow Crawford know about. Yuriorkis Gamboa, that's not a name. Come on, babe. And look what you're saying, Boxing Junkie. No big name, just like Ryan and Gamboa. Ryan didn't fight Crawford. I don't know. You got confused with that one, my guy. But again, that's what the logic or the theory is to hate on Crawford. That's the logic and the theory to hate on Crawford. You get to decide what's a name and what's not a name. How about accomplishments? Because Boxing Junkie, come on, I know you know this. History books don't record names. Oh, he beat this famous guy and that famous guy. History records accomplishments. What are the champions that you beat? What are the accomplished fighters that you beat? I named 5. Yeah, no, you don't want accomplishment. You want the names. Oh no, but he don't got the names. Well, history don't write. History books don't write your level of fame or how popular you was. History books write accomplishments. What are your accomplishments and what are the accomplishments of the people you beat? Terence Crawford got a great resume. Got a great resume. If we start naming names and comparing resume, there isn't a single person in Tank Davis' resume, entire resume, more accomplished than Amir Khan. Nobody in Tank resume is more accomplished than Kell Brook. Nobody in Tank resume is more accomplished than Canelo Alvarez. So we're talking about he don't get credit because he haven't beat big names, but Tank Davis get mad credit. What are the big names that he beat? What, who he beat? Where's his Hall of Famers in his resume and his superstars in his resume? Come on. Boxing Junkie, the problem is that, look. I just showed you, look, the number one hater tactic. Khan, Brook, Porter, Gamboa are all good names, but wasn't in their peak. Now, watch this, Boxing Junkie. Let me show you how I debunk and show you that that's a hater narrative. You sure you want to compare the age of those fighters versus the age of the 20-something champions Floyd Mayweather beat? You want to make that comparison? Because now, based on your logic, we're going to take all the champions that Floyd beat that were Amir Khan's age or older, and we're going to remove them from the list. Because you're going to have to say the same thing, right? Oh, nah, they wasn't the peak, and they wasn't the same. Are you going to do that to all the champions Floyd beat? Because then that number 26, my brother, is going to drop drastically. Drastically. When you take all your favorite fighters and you do that same logic that you're doing to Crawford, what you going to do then? According to you, ain't nobody going to be great, bro. Nobody. George Foreman beat Ali in his 30s and after he came out of jail, so that's not a great win. Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson later in his career. That's not a great win. Or are you going to start removing all of the great wins from everybody that has a win over a fighter that's older than Amir Khan when Crawford beat him? And by the way, Gamboa was in his mid-20s and undefeated. So you see, you find a way to discredit and hate on every Terence Crawford opponent. And you don't use that same logic on other people's opponents. For Crawford, you're like, oh, nah, they wasn't the same and they was just good. But wait a minute. There's a lot of fighters who fought guys who were that same age or older. A lot of Floyd's opponents was older than Amir Khan. Boxing Junkie, not the age, but what they was doing before they fought. And I always said that Floyd and then beat 24 champs and beat 15 champs and 9 next champ. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. All you're saying is, I found a way to discredit Crawford's opponents. The only problem with that, Boxing Junkie, is what I told you. History books don't record your opinion. They record accomplishments. How many people he beat and did you beat them? Your logic, my brother, of the age and they wasn't the same and what they went through, my boy, with that logic, we're going to discredit every world champion and every great fighter that you could ever mention. I promise you. We can use that same logic on anybody that you want to mention. Like, you see that logic? Do you really want to go to Duran's resume and review it and use that same logic? And let's see if you're now going to say that Duran's one of the greats. Bro, if we use that same logic, everybody's going down, bro. Everybody. Because at the end of the day, all the champions are not born on the same date. So every single champion has a history that they coming up and there's a big dog up there. But they got to earn their way to that shot. And by the time they get to that big dog is 35, 36, or whatever age they are. But every fighter, every great fighter has had that same concept in their career. Every single one of them. Look at Floyd Mayweather when he became a world champion. Who he beat? 30-something-year-old General Hernandez. Floyd Mayweather's first title shot was against a washed-up champion that was on his way out. But that's the way that boxing has always played out. The only difference is that for Terence Crawford, we have a different bar. We have a different way to measure his opponents. All we have to do is look at everybody else's opponents and realize that everybody else has a similar career in that aspect. That's everyone. That's not just Terence Crawford. So why do we have this different measuring stick for Terence Crawford. Well, oh no, he didn't do this, and he didn't do that, and he didn't do that. That's what makes Terence Crawford star power explode the way that it has. Because Boxing Junkie, people been doing this to Crawford his whole career. Yet he still fought the face of boxing and beat him. Boxing Junkie, you yourself told me the face of Canelo was going to knock him out, remember? Remember the weight classes for a reason and Canelo's too big and too strong? You yourself told me that. Yeah, look what Crawford did to him. Look what Crawford did to the face of boxing. And you're still bringing up, no, because these guys, they wasn't really that. They wasn't really the same, and they went through some stuff. Look what he just did in his last fight to the guy that you said was going to knock him out, bro. Look at it. Boxing Junkie. You have Crawford winning, Boxing Junkie? Bro, you yourself told me. You yourself told me about the weight classes for a reason. Actually, Boxing Junkie, I'm going to tell you. You have both winning. You have both winning, bro. You have both. There's a lot of fans that have both. You have both. And what do I mean by you have both? Well, you know, Crawford got the skills to beat him, and Crawford got what it takes. But Canelo, you know, weight class for a reason. And wait, you made an argument for both, bro. You made an argument for both. And Randall Bailey, Mr. KO King. Mr. KO King told me, I don't know for how many months, that Canelo was too big and he was going to knock Crawford out. Months. I haven't heard from him since. But look, all I'm saying is, if we consider when Terence Crawford moved up to the welterweight division, you got a squeaky voice. Man, get the fuck out of here. We don't need your goofy ass over here. Peace. Don't come back so I will have to block your ass. So let's think about Terence Crawford moving up to the welterweight division, right? And that's actually when the hate started for him. You know, he didn't beat nobody. He don't deserve a shot. All of that stuff started back then. That must be a tankomaniac. All of that stuff started back then. And since Crawford moved up to the welterweight division, the entire narrative about him has been, the entire narrative, he ain't beat nobody. He hasn't done anything. He doesn't deserve a shot at the top. According to people, he didn't even deserve a shot at Arrow because he hadn't done anything. So Terence Crawford, from the moment he moved up, he's being discredited. Timmy T, Gennaro Hernandez, 32, was the WBC super featherweight champ and only had one loss to Oscar when he fought Floyd. Bro, the amount of losses that he had doesn't matter. Look at his career after Floyd. Let me show you. You see? That's the thing. When you want to formulate a good argument in favor of somebody, you make that argument the way that you want to make it. So look, let's just go to the facts, right? Look at this. We'll go to the facts. Right? Floyd Mayweather. Damn, that's a long time for Gennaro Hernandez. My goodness. Here we go, Gennaro Hernandez. So, at the time Gennaro Hernandez fought Floyd Mayweather, he had 38 wins and 17 knockouts. Now, I want you to think about this, Timmy T. 38 wins and 17 knockouts suggest that Gennaro Hernandez wasn't a knockout artist, right? Wasn't a knockout artist, right? Bro, Gennaro Hernandez lost to Floyd Mayweather and he never stepped in the ring again. So if I tell you that he fought a guy that had 1 foot out the door, why would that not be accurate? You guys said that Crawford fought a Sean Porter whose foot was out the door. Well, Genaro Hernandez, Sean Porter fought again. Or did he? Oh no, he didn't fight again. Genaro Hernandez never fought again after fighting Terence Crawford. And you have to look at his record. The guy was 38 and something. So there you have it. Genaro Hernandez was on his way out of boxing. He was going to retire. And they say, yo, we got a good payday for you right here. Pass the torch. And he agreed. He agreed. Pass the torch to Floyd. Timmy T, he was still WBC champion and had 3-4 title defenses going into the fight. But Timmy T, I'm not doing what Terence Crawford haters do. I'm not diminishing Genaro Hernandez. I'm not telling you that he didn't do anything. All I'm telling you is that Genaro Hernandez was on his way out as Floyd Mayweather was coming up. That is a fact, my brother. They fought and he never fought again. So everything that you're saying, Timmy T, doesn't change the fact that Genaro Hernandez was on his way out of boxing when he faced Floyd Mayweather. That was his last professional fight. How much more out of boxing, what could he have been? This guy, look, I want you to consider this. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to show you, my brother. You know how it goes. There's no capping over here, no making stuff up out of thin air. Just the reality, right? I want you to think about this. Genaro Hernandez have fought in November of '97. He fought Carlos Hernandez. I will assume they're not family, right? He fought Carlos Hernandez in November of '97, right? He won. Title defense. After that, in May of '98, he fought again. Now, he's a guy who used to be super active. That's why he got 40-something fights. Super active, Mr. Genaro Hernandez. 30-something fights. Well, 40-something fights counting the losses. Now, he fought Floyd Mayweather in October of '98. When Floyd Mayweather was 17-0. He never climbed in the ring after that fight.